I didn't plan to notice her that way. It just happened. In the quiet pause between her laughter and the way she brushed a strand of hair from her face, as if she'd forgotten anyone was watching. She was my mom's best friend, Clara. 45, maybe 46. Sharp, calm, the kind of woman who didn't have to raise her voice to be heard. She had that soft confidence that made everyone straighten up when she walked into a room. But that night, she didn't feel untouchable. She felt near, human. It was late, the last of the guests had gone. My mom had gone to bed hours ago, leaving the two of us in the kitchen, half lit by the weak yellow glow above the sink. The air smelled of rain and lemon soap. She was rinsing the wine glasses, her sleeves rolled, a ring of light clinging to the edge of her hair. I stood there, trying to think of something normal to say. "You don't have to clean all that," I said. My voice sounded younger than I wanted it to. She smiled small, knowing. "If I stop moving, I'll start thinking," she said. Then she set the glass down and looked at me, really looked. "You ever get that way?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure she expected an answer. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It hummed, faintly, like a current between us neither of us meant to touch. Her hand brushed mine when she reached for a towel. Just a second. But enough. My skin stayed alert long after. She noticed. I could tell. The pause in her movement, the quick breath, all too controlled to be casual. "You've grown up," she said quietly, not as flattery, not as small talk, just an observation that lingered too long. I laughed. Awkward. "You make it sound like I used to be 5. "You were," she said, smiling to herself. "And now you're—" She stopped, folded the towel and didn't finish. The rain started again outside, soft, steady, tapping against the window. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You ever feel like time moves faster for some people?" she asked. Her eyes didn't leave mine. I felt pinned there, like if I looked away, something would break. "I guess it depends who's watching," I said. That earned a quiet laugh. She tilted her head, thoughtful. "You sound older than 21. Doi. Older than you should, maybe." There was no teasing in her tone, just a gentle ache I couldn't place. She reached for her wine again, but her hand hesitated halfway. "Your mom worries about you," she said softly. "She thinks you keep too much to yourself." "Maybe," I said, "but you don't seem to mind silence either." That made her look at me again, longer this time. Whatever she was about to say, she didn't. Instead, she walked closer. The scent of her perfume, faint, floral, blurred into the warmth of her skin. "You notice too much," she murmured. "That's dangerous." I almost smiled. "You said thinking was worse." Her lips curved, slow, deliberate. "Maybe both are." The air between us grew smaller, quieter. She was close enough for me to see the tiny line at the corner of her mouth when she bit back a thought. Then a door creaked upstairs. We froze. Her hand slipped away from the counter. Her eyes darted toward the hallway, then back to me. Neither of us moved. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Go to bed, before I forget who I'm supposed to be." The next morning, sunlight cut through the kitchen blinds. Too bright, too ordinary for the kind of silence that hung there. Clara stood by the counter, stirring her coffee, as if nothing about last night had lingered. But it had. Every small sound, the clink of a spoon, the soft hum of the fridge, felt louder than it should. "Morning," I said, trying to sound casual. She didn't turn right away. "You're up early." I shrugged. "Couldn't sleep." A faint smile, but her eyes stayed on the coffee. "That happens when the mind's busy." It wasn't the words. It was how carefully she said them, as though she was building a fence out of every syllable. My mom's voice came from the hallway, half asleep, asking about groceries. Clara's whole posture softened instantly, like she'd switched masks in a heartbeat. She smiled, joked, filled the air with small talk. But when my mom left the room again, that careful brightness slipped away. "You didn't say good night last night," she said quietly. "You told me to go to bed," I replied. Her gaze lifted, steady. "And you listened?" Mostly. That earned me a small, dry laugh. She leaned back against the counter, arms folded, the same pose as the night before. You shouldn't. What? Listen. Make things complicated, she said. Her tone was calm, but her hand gripped the edge of the counter. A small tremor she probably thought I didn't see. I didn't answer. Instead, I poured myself coffee, just to have something to do with my hands. You think I'm making things complicated? You're young, she said softly. You still think wanting something means you should have it. Her words weren't cruel, just worn, shaped by something old. You sound like you're talking about yourself, I said. That stopped her. Her breath caught, barely, but enough to change the air. I've already done my share of wanting, she said finally. It doesn't end well. I should have left it there. But I couldn't. Maybe you just wanted the wrong people. Her eyes met mine, slow, deliberate. You don't know what the right people look like yet. I know what it feels like, I said. She turned away then, setting her mug down with quiet precision. You're too sure of things, she said, though her voice had gone soft again. I took a step closer, careful not to touch her. Still, she felt near enough to reach. Her hair brushed her shoulder, the morning light catching the faint gold in it. I'm not sure of anything, I said. Except this doesn't feel wrong. That froze her. She stood still, eyes fixed on the window, her reflection staring back, caught between two versions of herself. Don't, she said quietly, but her hand reached out, fingertips brushing the back of mine. Barely there, a whisper of contact that sent every word I had straight out of my head. Neither of us moved for a moment. Then she pulled her hand back, her breath uneven. You should eat, she said, before your mom wakes up. But she didn't step away, and I didn't either. The house smelled of rain again. It had started pouring just after noon, pinning everyone inside. My mom was napping on the couch. The TV murmured low from the living room. Only Clara and I were awake enough to notice the storm. She was in the hallway, phone in hand, glasses sliding down her nose as she scrolled through photos for my mom's garden project. I leaned against the doorframe, pretending to read messages on my own screen. We kept glancing at each other and looking away like two people sharing a secret they couldn't name. Your mom's lucky, she said after a moment. You help her without being asked. She raised me that way. And who looks after you? The question landed heavier than it should. I shrugged. No one really needs to. She studied me, slow, careful, then tucked her phone into her pocket. Everyone needs to, she said, almost under her breath. Thunder rolled, long and low. For a second, the lights flickered. She laughed softly at the timing, a nervous little sound that felt too close to relief. Power's flaky when it storms, I said. So am I, she replied, half smiling. The air between us thickened. A drip from the roof echoed somewhere down the hall. She moved first, brushing past me toward the kitchen. I followed, though neither of us said why. The window fogged with rain. She wiped it with her sleeve and sighed. I should go soon, before it gets worse. I nodded, even though we both knew she wouldn't, roads flooding, visibility low. Her car keys sat untouched on the counter. She reached for them anyway, but her fingers brushed mine. The contact stopped her. We both froze, half-turned toward each other. You're shaking, I said quietly. Cold, she answered, though it wasn't. A vibration cut through the moment, her phone lighting up with my mom's name. She hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen, then silenced it. She can wait. The rain pounded harder. Each drop hit the glass like a heartbeat we couldn't ignore. You shouldn't look at me like that, she said finally. I'm not sure how else to. Her breath caught. The kind of silence that follows wasn't empty. It was crowded, full of everything unsaid. She took a half-step closer. I didn't move back. Her hand came up as if to steady herself on my shoulder. It stayed there, light, uncertain, but enough to send a charge through both of us. Her eyes flicked from my mouth to the space between us. Then the back door creaked open. We jumped apart. My mom's voice called from down the hall, asking if anyone wanted tea. Clara exhaled, quiet, almost laughing. "That was close," she whispered. "Yeah." She looked at me then, really looked, like she was memorizing something she shouldn't. "We can't keep doing this," she said. But she didn't move away, and I didn't either. The storm had passed, but the air still carried the smell of wet asphalt and lilac. Evening pressed against the windows, the sky bruised with leftover light. My mom had gone out to meet a friend for dinner. For the first time all weekend, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Clara stood by the open window, a glass of water in her hand, watching droplets slide down the screen. "You should have gone home hours ago," I said. "I was waiting for the roads to dry," she replied, though the streets were clear now. I leaned against the doorway. "You don't have to make excuses." She turned, the faintest challenge in her eyes. "Then maybe I just didn't want to leave." The sentence hung there, pulsing with all the things she hadn't said before. "I thought you were the careful one," I said. "I am," she answered. "That's the problem." The air between us pulled tighter. She set the glass down, tracing the rim with her finger. "You keep looking at me like I'm something dangerous." "Maybe you are," I said. She gave a small, uneven laugh. "Then stop standing so close." But I hadn't moved. Neither had she. I took one step forward. She didn't back away. Her breath shifted, slower now, deliberate. I could hear it, feel it. "You think this is just curiosity," she whispered. "You'll wake up and wonder what you were doing." I shook my head. "That's not what this is." Her eyes flicked over my face, searching for disbelief, maybe permission. When she spoke again, her voice was barely sound. "You don't know what it costs, wanting someone you shouldn't. Then tell me." She reached out before she could stop herself. Her fingertips brushed my jaw, quick, uncertain, as if testing what was real. Then she dropped her hand, shaking her head. "I've spent years building walls," she said. "You walk in and it's like they were made of paper." I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I reached up and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes closed for a heartbeat, and when she opened them again, the calm was gone. "Don't," she said, voice unsteady, but she didn't move. I could feel the warmth of her skin, the faint scent of her perfume, the tremor she tried to hide. She took a step closer, until her hand rested against my chest. "You're making this impossible," she breathed. Maybe it already was. A silence thick enough to touch stretched between us. Her thumb moved once, barely, against my shirt. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. One breath, one decision. Then, her phone buzzed sharply on the counter, the screen lighting her face. She stared at it, then at me. Her lips parted, but no words came. Finally, she whispered, "If I answer, this ends." And I said, "Then don't." The phone kept buzzing long after she turned away. Finally, she silenced it and set it face down on the counter. The quiet that followed didn't feel peaceful. It felt like a held breath. "Who was it?" I asked, though I already knew. She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned against the counter, pressing her palms flat as if she needed something solid to hold on to. "My mom?" I asked again. She nodded, then shook her head. "Yes and no. She called me earlier. I didn't tell you." "Why?" Her eyes lifted, tired but sharp. "Because she asked me to talk to you." That stopped me. "About what?" "About what's been going on with you," she said quietly. "She's worried you're lonely, that you don't trust anyone, that you attach too fast." The words landed heavier than I expected. I took a step back, stung. "And you agreed?" "I didn't plan any of this," she said, voice breaking just enough to sound real. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." "So this was pity?" She shook her head hard. "Don't say that." "Then what is it?" I asked. "Because you can't keep looking at me like that and then hide behind concern." Her hands trembled slightly on the counter. "I thought I could handle it. I thought it would fade. But it didn't." "No," she admitted. "It didn't." The admission hit like a current, equal parts pain and relief. I moved closer without thinking, drawn to the honesty she'd been fighting to bury. She looked up, eyes wet with something she wouldn't name. I told myself it was wrong. You're too young. I'm scared, I said. Her breath caught. Scared of being seen, I continued. You don't have to say it. The silence between us tightened again. Her fingers brushed against mine. Hesitant, searching for an anchor she didn't believe she deserved. I shouldn't have come here, she whispered. But you did. She looked at me, something breaking open in her face. You think I don't feel this? Every time I walk into this house, I remind myself, she's your mother's son. She turned away quickly, pacing a step, trying to gather herself. But her voice betrayed her. And still, when you look at me like that... She stopped mid-sentence, pressing a hand to her mouth. I stepped forward, close enough to feel her breath again. When I look at you like what? She didn't answer, just shook her head and laughed softly, like someone admitting defeat, like I'm still worth wanting. The words cracked something in both of us. For a moment, she leaned into me. Not fully, just enough for the air to change. My hand almost rose to her back but stopped halfway, trembling there. Her phone lit up again, this time with a text preview. Everything okay? He's still there. She saw it, and her expression shifted. Fear, guilt, longing, all at once. She turned off the screen, looked at me and whispered, if we keep going, there's no turning back. And for the first time, neither of us stepped away. The house had gone still again. Outside, the storm was only a memory. A quiet street, slick pavement, air heavy with what had been waiting all along. Clara stood by the doorway, hand resting on her keys. She wasn't moving. The porch light caught the edge of her face, softening everything that had been sharp between us. You should go, I said, though my voice didn't sound like mine. I know, she said, but she didn't. Silence filled the room like a pulse. The clock ticked once, twice, the kind of sound that only exists when people are trying too hard not to speak. Finally, she turned. This should never have started, she said. I nodded. Then why are we still standing here? Her eyes met mine. Calm, tired, and full of everything she'd been holding back. Because walking away hurts more. The honesty of it broke something open. I stepped closer, just enough to feel the warmth radiating between us. My heartbeat stumbled, loud in the quiet. Say it, I whispered. She blinked, once. Say what? That you don't want this. She tried to. I could see it, the way her mouth started to form the word, then stopped. Instead, she exhaled a sound that was halfway between a laugh and a sigh. I can't lie anymore, she said. Her voice cracked, the smallest sound, but it carried more weight than a shout. She looked down, brushing a thumb over the edge of her palm, like she was trying to steady herself. Then don't, I said. The space between us disappeared slowly, like gravity had made its choice for us. Her hand came up, uncertain, resting against my chest. My breath caught. She looked at me, eyes searching, terrified, alive. This will change everything, she whispered. I know. Her hand tightened slightly, that tiny, involuntary grip that said more than words ever could. For a long second, neither of us moved. The air thickened, voices reduced to breath. She reached up, brushing her fingers against the side of my face. A gentle, trembling line that felt like both apology and answer. I leaned closer, and for the first time she didn't pull away. The world went still, just her breath against mine, the faint scent of rain in her hair, the warmth of her skin where our foreheads almost touched. No words left, no explanations left to give. Just two people standing in the middle of something that shouldn't have happened and yet felt, in that instant, inevitable. She closed her eyes. Don't make promises, she whispered. I won't, I said. Just this. And the distance vanished. The moment didn't explode. It unfolded quiet, trembling, like something fragile finally allowed to exist. When we finally stepped back, both of us were breathing differently, lighter, shaken, but clear. Whatever came next, we understood each other now. Entirely. Morning light spilled through the half-open curtains, soft and forgiving. The house was quiet again. Not the heavy kind of quiet from before, but something lighter, almost calm. Clara sat on the porch steps, coffee in hand, wearing the same sweater from the night before. Her hair was a little messy, her eyes tired but peaceful. I stepped outside, the wood creaking under my feet. "You're still here," I said. She smiled faintly without looking over. "I thought I'd leave before anyone noticed. But you didn't." "No," she said, taking a slow sip. "Guess I didn't." I sat beside her, not too close, but not far either. The cool air smelled like wet leaves and something clean. For a while, we just listened to the world wake up. Birds, the distant hum of traffic, a dog barking down the street. Everything ordinary, but somehow it felt different. "Last night," I began, unsure where to put the words. She saved me from finishing. "It happened," she said simply, "and I don't regret it." I looked at her. "You thought you would." She nodded. "I did. I thought it would feel wrong or foolish, or like a mistake I'd spend the next 10 years trying to forget." She turned toward me, her gaze steady. "But it just feels honest." Her hand rested between us, close enough that I could see the faint tremble in her fingers before she stilled them. I placed mine over hers, slow, deliberate. She didn't pull away. "You know it won't be simple," she said. "Nothing worth it ever is." A small laugh escaped her, quiet, surprised. "You talk like you've lived twice your years." "Maybe I finally started." She looked down at our hands, then at me. "I spent so long thinking life was done giving me surprises," she said. "Then you showed up." The words hung there, soft but real. I leaned slightly closer. She didn't move away. My hand brushed a strand of hair from her face, and she let out a shaky breath. Not nervous, just full. I kissed her forehead, slow and light, and she closed her eyes. It wasn't passion or impulse anymore. It was something quieter, deeper. A choice. She leaned into me, her head resting against my shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked. I looked out at the street, the sunlight brightening the wet pavement. "We keep it simple," I said. "We stop pretending it's not real." She smiled, eyes half closed. "Simple," she repeated, as if testing the word. And for the first time, it actually felt possible. The wind stirred the leaves around us, brushing against our feet. Neither of us moved. The day stretched open, uncertain but ours. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?